There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, Bond. Oh, hold on a minute. That's not meant to be there. Let me get him off the screen. There's always something. There you go. Hola, Bond. Alegria Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. We have Colin Ross-Jones waiting in the wings to join us. Packed show about motoring. Go Motoring Portugal for the first half hour of the show. And then Heather Boots on the Ground Binder. Itabinda will be with us from 9:30 this morning as well if you've got any questions about moving to Portugal in the unique way that Heather helps people do exactly that. So moving to and motoring in Portugal this morning, and of course finding out how you're doing. James is in. Good morning to you, James. Bom dia, Gambas. Feliz quinta a todos. Como tem passado? And a bom dia as well from Sarah. And muito bem, obrigado, James. And bom dia to you, Sarah Yerman. Tudo bem? And Marcus is in as well. PT Country Bears in. Bon dia to you. Deagle's in also. And I think the name for that stuff, last night we had the strange smell of rain dust after a dry spell. It only lasts an hour and then the rain washes it away. Is that called petrichor? I think it's a lovely word, petrichor. And that might be the more natural smell before the rain comes rather than the smell of tarmac and the dry streets being doused with moisture and the resulting smell. I was actually talking about smells, and particularly in cars. It is Go Motoring Portugal. I was in a car with a certain gentleman yesterday because I sent a teaser pic to Colin, who I will bring on. Actually, let's bring him on now. Let's give him a nice big round of applause. Hola, bon dia, alegria. Good morning to you, not James. Colin. It's Colin, isn't it? Yeah. All right.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes.
Good morning. Colin Ross-Jones, everybody. Now, I sent you this picture, didn't I? I looked at it later on, Colin, and I thought, I might grow a beard again. I look like a ping pong ball, don't I? A smiling ping pong ball. And
or a 10-pin bowling.
With the dimples to put your fingers in.
Yeah.
I said, guess who I'm with? And I was in the black Tesla yesterday with Nuno. Met with Nuno. We had lunch yesterday. Yes. Storyteller's lunch was fantastic. And I don't know if it strictly comes into the realm of when you're in a car. If this is the terrain or the area to discuss in a motoring show. But suddenly there was a terrible smell in the car. And it's at that moment you think, well, I know it's not me. It must be the other guy, right? Or if there's several passengers, there's got to be someone else in there. And I was a bit shocked, I'll be honest with you, because there's only me and Nuno in there. I'm thinking it's got to be him if it wasn't me. And then I was really glad to see that there was a one of those what would they be called? Lorries clearing out a drain nearby. A diner rod lorry that was clear. There had been some terrible blockage, I believe. And thankfully, I realized that it was neither of us. Unless, of course, Nuno had taken advantage of the cover. But also, in a Tesla, aren't there sounds of passing wind that you can evoke from the dashboard as well?
There certainly are. You can put up any seat. You can put a sound of blowing wind.
Letting Polly out of the cage, as it were. Yes.
Yes,
the things they think of. Now, when you drove your first car, but you never imagined you'd have such brilliant technology at your fingertips. Should you have wanted
it? When I drove my first car, there was a thing on the side that you went like this to. What? If you wanted to get the window down.
Oh, very quaint. Very quaint. Like exercise.
Yeah.
It was a gym.
Yeah, it
was a gym.
Pure exercise. Yeah. And the steering wheel was big because you had no power steering, so you really flexed your muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it was you could develop a really strong left arm with all that window winding, a nice tanned and strong left arm, not so much on the right arm.
And even changing gear was quite an art, because the best drivers used to do what we call double declutch.
Oh, my goodness. Now you're taking us back.
Yeah, so you go into neutral, take your foot off the clutch, put your foot on the clutch again, and put it into gear.
Nothing to do with bra sizes, the double D clutch. Is it something different? And I bet you were saying, here, hold my beer. I need to change gear back in the 70s. Happy times. Hold my cigarette and my beer. I need to change gear on this thing. And I'm going to be double D'ing it all the way.
I can remember going from a rugby club event late at night, driving down the driveway to the gates of the rugby club, and I suddenly felt a little bit sick. And I think it was the first car. It's the first car I ever had with electric windows.
Woohoo!
I pressed the button, only to find that I'd put the window up, not down, when I was being sick.
Any other anecdotes of that kind gratefully received this morning? Oh, what a wonderful picture that must have been. And quite the surprise in the morning. Who did that? That was me.
I knew who did it.
Yeah. Right. Mike and Karen are in Chicago, joining us from very early morning Chicago. How's Chicago this morning, Mike and Karen? And Elaine's with us this morning. Fantastic. I was taught double declutch memories.
Yeah.
And remember my granddad's starting handle in his Morris Minor.
Exactly.
Good morning. But let's see these Tesla drivers. Can you imagine being a 20-year-old Tesla driver now, hearing these stories? You just think, what are these old people talking about? Good morning. Deepest rural Algarve, where the vehicles we see here are mostly tractors or 81 Mercedes. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'd love one of those. But a 1981 Mercedes probably still costs, 40,000 euros here in Portugal, right?
Probably. Talking of starting handles, that's one of the reasons why there was no road rage in the early days, because everybody had a starting handle, so you could bash each other over the heads.
Yes, okay. Let's sort this out like gentlemen on the rugby field. That was the way to do it, wasn't it? Right. Coach Turner is in as well. He'll have a God Squad tip for us later on. Our pal, Coach Turner, of course. And we went off to the Serra da Estrela most recently, didn't we? And we've still got video to come of that. Bom dia, Gampas e Feliz Quinta, como está? Went to a comedy. Oh, come on. We need to hear some of the jokes, please, Coach. Went to a comedy night in that London last night. That London, up London. Up west there, but it turned out to be more of a wellness preach with a couple of funny bits. What happened to comedy, Colin? Good food, though. Food at a comedy gig?
I don't know, because, as you know, at my last ski trip, I was the comedian for the evening, doing my session. Yeah. And a lady who's a similar age to me came up and said, you need to get new jokes or a new audience. And when I found out she's very woke, so I didn't think people of our age knew what woke was.
Okay, but you had a surprise there. As the comic in residence, that's quite a scathing review, upsetting, I think. And I hope that doesn't put you off. I know it did hurt your feelings a little bit, which is quite woke, I have to say, Colin. But we want you back in the comedy saddle ASAP. All right? Or maybe have a comedy safe space for hecklers. And when you get heckled, I just need to have 2 minutes to myself, please, to recover from that. And I won't be telling any more jokes if you're going to be so rude. Bon dia. I bet Bernard Manning said that, didn't he, in his time? Bon dia to Colin, the 18-speed big truck I was driving before coming to Portugal still requires a double clutch shift.
Yeah.
Clutch at all. 18-speed gearbox on that bad boy. Bon dia, Portugal, from João Ernesto as well. He likes his motors. So I think you brought a few lads to the scrapyard here this morning to talk about cars. And we've got lots to talk about this morning. And silly me, Colin, I haven't played our intro, our slightly adapted intro this morning. So I'll do that now. And we'll come back and we'll talk earnestly and passionately about motor vehicles for the next 20 minutes. Colin and I were just talking in here, and the operative word being talking. You can really hear yourself in here. The soundproofing is so amazing.
It's so quiet.
It's lovely and quiet. We can hear each other talk.
Yes, sadly.
Unfortunately. Right, there we go. We have officially started the Go Motoring Portugal section, or the residency and the feature here on Good Morning Portugal. We have 2 cars to share. You went to the electric vehicle show, right?
I certainly did, yes. Yeah, down in Lisbon.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, and before we go on to those, we've got a little bit of footage from 2 of the highlights that you chanced upon there. We can't say what that vehicle was that had really good soundproofing yet, can we? We are embargoed by the PR department.
You would imagine it is a brand new car that the public haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And it's embargoed to all the press, but for some reason we're not allowed to show it or anything. But you can go to that dealership and buy one now or test drive it, but we're not allowed to show it. So.
And we are eager. We're champing at the bit, aren't we, to show the video we made of that, because we had a great time making it.
Yet I think it's the best video we've done yet. Very professional, and I think with Clarkson and gang all packing in Grand Tour, I think there's a big opportunity for us.
Isn't there? There's a parking space that we can reverse into if we get the support of the manufacturers and dealers. Okay. All right, fingers crossed that we'll be able to play that video soon then. Just we're hanging on there every utterance, aren't we, to get approval for that. I'll be gutted if we can't show it for some reason. I'll be very interested to know their reasons if they say no.
It's down to their anti-marketing department.
Is that not bitter at all? Right, okay. So 2 electric vehicles to talk about. I asked you before the show when Portugal introduced the metric system into its into its culture, and you thought around the same time as the UK. Was that the 70s, wasn't it? Decimalisation and metric. Right, okay. So that's a quiz that's hanging in the air there this morning on the Good Morning Portugal show. When did Portugal introduce its metric system, or the use of metric decimal system into its culture? So I found it fascinating. I looked it up for some reason yesterday, and I think you might be surprised by that. And I also want to talk to you about petrol. There is a new Spanish petrol chain that's threatening to cut the price of petrol as well. So you might have a comment on that. But let's play the first of these electric vehicle clips then. Which would you like first, the Hyundai or the Alfa?
The Alfa, actually, having been an employee of theirs.
Yes, and that's all behind you now, isn't it? Including all the visits to HR, I suspect, as well. Did you ever get pulled up at work for telling? What would the expression be? The adjective for jokes a little near the mark, sailing close to the wind. I imagine you did that once or twice, didn't you? At work? No.
In the meetings with the other managers and the managing director, I tried to behave myself, but I always had the witty answer if it was need be.
Excellent. I hope so. And there is that joke, isn't there? HR liked my joke so much they wanted to hear it again in their office. Anyway, is your Alfa review?
Have the new electric Alfa Romeo. It is called the Junior, although it was at the launch called the Milano, but they got told they couldn't call it that because it's no longer made in Italy. But it's a fabulous design. It looks nice. It's got a good sized boot. Look at the size of that. Very nice. A typical Alfa Romeo. It's in the driver's seat. Very nice condition. Look at that, with a nice driving position. They say you're never a petrol head unless you've had an Alfa Romeo, so I don't know how they're going to cope with the fact that it's electric, but there you go. And this is the price on here. This is their limited edition, and this is 48 8,600. Wow.
Wow, as in good value?
Well, it depends what you think is good value, because the cars in Portugal, as we all know, are extremely expensive.
Yes.
But having looked at the price of that car in the UK, it's now £42,000.
Right. Okay.
So you could say it's good value. It's actually Alfa Romeo is now owned by the Stellantis group, which owns Jeep as well.
Right? Yes.
And that particular car is a Jeep in Alfa Romeo clothes.
Yes.
With different suspension, and it's the same as the Peugeot 30. I think it's the 308.
Yeah, I was really disappointed to hear this, Colin. That there are only about 5 cars, really, aren't there?
Well, you know, that hot off the press is the fact that Stellantis has really messed up Jeep, and in America, the dealers are going bankrupt because they're full of stock from. They have 2-year-old brand new stock, and they're still getting told to take new stock, and they can't sell the cars.
What happened? What's gone? How have they managed to hurt Jeep so much?
Well, they tried to go up market, and they've made the larger Jeep Cherokee. They've made it now $100,000 car, and people won't buy it for that.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
just because Stellantis said, we're going up market, doesn't mean that the customers will follow them.
Well, that's right. This is what car manufacturers find out from time to time, isn't it? Word in from Pete, a Tesla driver owner, cheaper than a Tesla, but with no super fast charging network around Europe. Don't like center consoles in electric cars. That's an interesting comment, isn't it? Because that does remind you of the old-fashioned driving style when you've got a center console. Just means they use an internal combustion engine chassis. And that's what we were talking about here. A lot of cars are using the same chassis, and they're just a different fur coat on top of the basic underwear of the vehicle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what a terrible name, though. That's not a name for a grown man's car, is it? The Junior. It makes it sound like a first car.
I mean, it was so embarrassing because they had the world launch of that car went out live, which I watched, and they called it the Milano.
Oh, right.
And then, of course, Italy.
I had to think of something else quick.
Turned up and said, "You cannot do that."
Milano. Yeah. Okay. Well, because it's not made there, as you said in the video.
Well, and because it's named after a city, so But going on from
why can't you name a car after a city? Okay.
They didn't want to be associated with it because it's built in Slovenia.
You could name a car back in the day. You could name a car after a sex worker, the Escort, couldn't you? You could name a car after a Wind, a Sierra. You could name a car after anything. Everything's so woke now, Colin.
I know. The Cortina was after the Italian site, a ski resort. So.
Was it? Oh, but what's happened? Oh, okay.
Just giving you some latest news on the Stellantis again. The CEO of Stellantis is Carlos Travers, who is Portuguese, and there's a big movement to remove him as CEO.
Oh yes, you mentioned it because we had a little look at his life story, didn't we? A remarkable Portuguese fella who, so they've had a bit of pushback, a bit of consumer rumbling, and the first thing you think of is, okay, well, let's fire the leader and get another one.
Well, they've lost half their value on the stock exchange, so
that's not good.
Somebody's head has to roll.
So terrible pressure then for our Portuguese pal then. Well, he might be available to join us on the Go Motoring Portugal in a couple of months.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll keep an eye.
Tell us everything then.
Yes, indeed. Right. Let's look at the other one then. That was the Alpha Junior, and you made a very interesting comment that you're not really a driver, really, are you? Unless you've had an Alpha at some point in your driving career.
Exactly.
Many lovers of the motor vehicle have had an Alpha, with all the drama that goes with it, as you might expect from a car from the Italian culture. Let's have a look now. What this is a Hyundai, is it, that caught your eye as well?
The 5N, yes.
Okay, let's roll VT then and see what you thought of this.
Here we have the brand new Ioniq 5N, which is a sports version. It has a special button that allows you to get the potentially 609 brake horsepower, whereas normally it's 448. Who would want the extra? Who knows? Very sporty. Look at the interior. Nice sports seats, blue flashing everywhere. But I'm still not sure that it's worth the 80-odd thousand. Nice big boot, but that's standard in all the Ioniq 5s.
You like it big at the back, don't you? There's a theme here, isn't there? Yeah.
There is. But that particular car has, like my car, has synthesized engine noise.
Oh, excellent. Right.
I've actually found a video that I can try and play from my phone. I don't know how successful this will be.
If you hold it near the microphone, this is we're breaking broadcasting boundaries here. We're trying something a little bit different. This is what it would sound like then as it goes past your house, presumably, when the local boy racer has got his hands on one of these on the bigger brake horsepower.
Can you hear that?
It's like a normal Hyundai 4-cylinder in their end vehicles.
Yeah, I can hear a Hyundai salesman.
A strange electric race car, a supersonic is an even stranger race car of sorts. It is all very good fun, but you don't want it's completely gone.
Didn't really hear. I heard an American. I mean, that's not coming out of the car as you're driving around the neighborhood. Is it an American car reviewer?
No. You can just choose. There's a button where you can choose a V8 sound or whatever sound you want for the car. Everybody that's reviewed this car says people say electric cars are boring. This particular car is far from boring. But,
well, I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I mean, of all the things you can do with cars now, with all the technology we've got, they actually are quite boring, aren't they? I don't know why that is. Is that consumer pressure and car manufacturers being so jittery that they don't want the Jeep phenomenon? Do they don't want to do something really different and risk losing half their customer base?
At the end of the day, I think petrol heads probably are a dying breed. It seems like a lot of people these days just want to go A to B. They're not bothered as long as they get there safely and quietly. And they seem to want to play with the infotainment and the screens more than they're bothered about how the car drives. And I find that very sad.
Yeah, but it's very interesting sociologically and economically, isn't it? Because you know how sometimes we see these headlines where it says Portugal is like 100% self-sufficient or off-grid power creating today, and you think, oh, that's fantastic. We've got wind turbines and we've got solar panels, and the energy is being created in some sense a lot less a lot cheaper than it would be by conventional means. And so isn't that fantastic? We can expect a discount on our energy quite soon, or free energy for everybody, given that the means of production have now been sorted out, much better value. Or, once I know infrastructure is expensive and putting the infrastructure in, but once that's in, maybe that could be state owned, free power for everybody. But no, energy continues to go up, doesn't it, everywhere around the world, despite all these boasts about how there's so much sustainable and free ways of producing it. And also you might expect the same thing with a car. We've got all this amazing technology. We've got batteries instead of engines. Why wouldn't they create good value cars for people? And that's, again, it's the opposite here in Portugal, especially, isn't it? Cars are really expensive, and the consumer is not feeling the benefits in the wallet. They might be feeling the benefits in choice, arguably not, because they all still look and sound the same. But it's not bringing the best feature to the consumer, which is a lower cost. Again, probably the opposite.
Well, You know, the fact that the petrol prices in Portugal are always big news. So you'll see headlines on Monday, they're reducing the price of petrol and all the rest of it. And so it's a constant changing price. What we really ought to think about is that imagine having a petrol station at your house. Yeah. And you were buying it wholesale.
I can get sweets anytime I want to. I can get flowers for the missus. It'd be great. Yeah, I understand.
Exactly. But, you know, the electric car for most of us is a perfect animal because you can power it from your cheap rate electricity, or you can power it free from solar panels, and you can use the car for your 30, 40 miles a day or 150 miles a week without worrying. And, you know, the concept is really good.
Yeah.
Problem is that, like any new technology, is that as soon as you buy one, there's something better.
Yeah. And I think it is a real challenge for the free market, isn't it? Because they, as we can see you think, okay, this is the perfect storm, isn't it? The free market and a new type of technology for powering cars, when in fact it seems to be imploding on itself. The promise for the people is not being delivered. And the car manufacturers, who'd want to be a car manufacturer at the moment when you think to yourself, okay, well, how do we make money from cars? It's almost like a use case, isn't it, for nationalization? And, you know, like a communist approach to cars where they're made cheaply by the government and given to everybody, rather than the car manufacturers finding themselves in this awful situation. I mean, nobody wants to be, they are car manufacturers because they can't stop it, right? But I'm sure a lot of them just want to give up at the moment.
Well, I mean, it's been a long time coming, but Musk has been talking for a long, long time about the robo-taxi.
Oh, okay,
and the robo-taxi has no driver. You call it up on your app on the phone. It comes to your house, takes you wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't have to own a car. And I think my grandchildren probably won't.
We are poised on the edge of that evolution for humanity there as a final thought for Go Motoring Portugal this morning. Always great to talk to you. Couple of quick things before we get Heather onto the screen there, Colin. Have you seen this new chain? I mean, for those of us who still have fueled cars or, you know, like fossil fuel cars, do you think this will make an impact? First of 50 petrol stations in Portugal. It's like the Mercadona of the forecourt.
Yeah, of course it will. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that could catch on, and I wonder if they do some nice sandwiches.
What it's all about.
Yeah,
competition.
Okay, so watch out for Petro-Pre and the metric system in Portugal. When did you think it was introduced?
I reckon it was just after they went into a democracy.
No, 1814. Now, yes, because we think, don't we, us Brits, like, you know, we swapped over to metric and decimalisation. And what a faff, how dare they, and all that sort of stuff going on back in those days. Whereas elsewhere in the world, look at this, 1814, the first proposal for the adoption. Oh, yes. Controversial note to end on.
I reckon that's 14 minutes past 6 in the evening when they were meant to do it at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they didn't change to a decimal clock, though, did they? We still have 12 points on the clock. I wonder if that'll ever change. That's a way of keeping people busy, isn't it? And confused. No, 1814. And as a matter of fact, Colin, Portugal was the second country in the world after France to adopt the metric system. And there's another fact there. I didn't know it was France that first introduced the decimal metric system to the world. So that's a bit of a shocker, isn't it? We were late to that party.
We certainly were.
Okay, let's not keep Heather late to this party. See what I did there? Great to speak to you, Colin. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Nice big round of applause to you. All right, my love? Give us a twirl and I'll see you next time. All right. There he goes. And we will keep the applause going. Binder. Hola, bom dia.
Binder. Come on.
Sorry. No, I was going for the full Ether Binder.
That's okay. Actually, at one point it was Binder, so even Bender, I think. So, you know,
good. Right, Let me do that again. Good morning to you, Heather Binder. How are you?
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you. Or you could say eater binder.
That's what I opened with. I since you told me that story, I can't get that out of my mind.
The Portuguese pronunciation, yes, it's always lovely. I'm like, wow, that's really ugly.
Well, they're doing their best, I'm sure. They're doing.
They are. Well, HEA is like utterly confused. It's like when we see X, and I'm like,
yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I literally just am getting that X down. X is like an SH sound, and so I realized one of my favorite restaurants in town. I've always called it Maria Zika, but it's actually Maria Chica. So
Chica,
yes. Yeah. Oh, look, we have things flying around.
Oh, that's spooky. What's going there? Is that a visit of
you
some
never
sort?
know in my house. No, it's just like I don't know, the bird, the cat, the pug, like something,
flying around the room. Right.
My hair.
If we see a flying pug, I'm going to be very worried. Now, before we move on from local restaurants, let's talk about your latest meetup venue, because I love it how you're working your way through all the eateries and cafes of Caldas de Rainha, basically. Where are you currently?
This last time, oh gosh, I don't know how to say it.
Oh. You don't know how to pronounce it, or you'd rather not talk about it?
I literally, hold on. I have to look it up here. It's hard to, you didn't prep me on that,
Well, I'll find it. Don't worry. Carry on talking and I'll find it.
Yeah, it's like camarão. It's like a shrimp almost.
Oh, yeah.
But here, I'll find it here. This will be faster.
And is that what you're doing? You're sort of mixing it up a bit so people can get to try different menus around Caldas de Rainha?
Well, you have different weather, so you have different needs. And then some venues work better than others, or there's pluses and minuses. So I'm always looking for a new place that's good. I try to keep it in town so it's walkable, because a lot of times people will tell me places, but they're all drivable. And there's so many people that, like to walk and not drive. But we may, get a little more creative. So we'll see.
Bless you. I am feeling some of the frustration of being a meetup host as well. So it's like, can we go to this place? It's only 15 kilometers out of town. People will love it. And then the next person to send you a message says, it's got to be in town. I don't have a vehicle and I'm a vegan. The next person says...
Or you show up and they're not open and they're supposed to be, or you think they're not open and they were. That was last time. Camarero. I'm not saying that right. Hold on.
Camarero, maybe. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna bring it to the screen when I find it.
Camarero Real Cerveja Club.
And next time, Heather will be choosing one that's easier to pronounce for sure.
It's right by the fruit market. It's just up from the thermal hospital by the fruit market. And it's a historic, somebody out there knows, it's a historic location. Used to be a popular restaurant, and then it was shut down for a really long time. So it's a beautiful restaurant. It's quite nice. And it has a little outdoor bar space upstairs with the penis umbrellas, of course.
Well, I want to talk to you about that as well.
Sure.
As somebody who, she did say, she actually...
Somebody who... I'm not going to say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have to handle this delicately. Obviously. But before we move into that, there we go.
There you go. How do you say it?
Well, is the Caneca at the end an O? I'm guessing it is. So I'm going to go with Camarero Real, the Cervejaria Club. So it is
Cervejaria. So I'm still doing the Spanish thing. Yeah. I do that
sometimes. No, a proper Portuguese bar with proper beer is what I'm reading there between those lines, and near the Praça da Fruta. Now, we do have on the, coming back to penis umbrellas, in the best in the best possible taste, because it is a fact. That is what she said, and that is what's going on there. We have Agada is the original place, and I've got a picture somewhere or a screen to share here. Thank you.
So is Maria... I always said Adega, but it's Agada. See my pronunciation, man.
Well, I did a live stream from Agada many years ago.
Okay, so Agada.
No, I was calling it Agada. at the time, I think. And
a gaydar?
Yes, I think I was. So once that was pointed out to me, I quickly turned to Agada, which I
can say gaydar because I know gaydar. So then a gaydar. I can do that.
Yeah, but don't get confused with that because it's not a gaydar. It's Agada. Agada.
Agada. See,
it's a fantastic
a gaydar
town.
Was fun. Okay.
And
Agada.
I think it's where the umbrella thing originated, right? And this image. It's been seen the world over. This is such a good idea. It's such a jolly thing that Agada did. If you are near Agada, don't miss your chance to experience the magical Umbrella Sky project before it disappears on September the 30th. So
are they penis umbrellas or just umbrellas?
Well, no, this is what I want to talk to you about because it sounds like Caldas de Reina has picked up the baton, as it were. So
it always gets dirty when I'm here. Like I don't know listen, why. And it's cars, and it's like solar, and suddenly, and gas, and then it's penises. So Heather's here.
Well, you are representing Caldas de Reina, I quickly add.
Well, that exactly. Why would it be penises? We weren't for that. So exactly.
Yeah, and I think I have got the picture to show that the Caldas has gone from being the phallic ceramic center to picking up where it looks like Agada has left off. Oh, excellent! Yeah, I'm sure Cordelia won't mind me using her picture with this.
No,
although she might resent me associating her with this topic. But let's see how that goes.
Well, she can blame it on me. So she's a friend of mine.
It was Heather's idea, everybody. So we've gone from Agada and I was going to say the plain colourful umbrellas. They're not plain at all. They're absolutely beautiful. And Caldas, maybe the high-ups, the top brass at Caldas heard about Agada taking the umbrellas down. So, okay, I know what we'll do. We will do that. And we'll take it a stage further with our phallic ceramic handles. And there they are. You can just about make them out on the screen.
They're actually lights up on the, I don't know if those are lights.
They do not light up.
The ones up on the bar upstairs are lights. Yes.
I'm tempted to ask you which bit lights up. Or does it?
I haven't seen them lit, but they are lights. So I'm assuming they light them. I should have done that when I was there last year.
And would you, Heather, if I may put you on the spot even more here, I would feel very uncomfortable using an umbrella of that kind because there's only one way to hold it, really, isn't there?
It's like my husband when we go to the grocery store and we have to buy my dad, like the pens or whatever. He won't freaking check out. He's like, my husband is like, like this big, fighter, tough guy, like whatever. Yep. And then he does that crap, and I'm like, you can't buy these for your father-in-law, which he did last time. I had to go to the bathroom and he did finish checking out, but
these are adult diapers. I thought you said when he goes to buy the pens, and I'm thinking, why would he embarrass about buying the pens?
Adult diapers. Yeah,
you can depend on them. I understand that. In fact, I heard an old guy joke routine this morning, and he was telling a joke about Depends, and so that all makes sense now. He said a young guy was giving him some stick on the street. He shouted at a young man, "Put your pants up. Your underwear's showing," and he came over and gave me a wedgie. But I got the last laugh because I was wearing Depends. So thank you for explaining that joke to me. Yeah, and I guess that is an interesting situation, and in a new culture as well. If you are buying Depends or sanitary wear for your partner or condoms or something like that, not only do you have to face the normal embarrassment, you are also in Portugal facing a different level of unknown embarrassment as well, I guess. So.
This is such a male thing, I have to say. I'm sorry.
You've got no sympathy whatsoever for our predicament.
I have no sympathy, but, women have to deal with all kinds of stuff. That's like nothing, literally nothing. Yeah. So I don't know. Not that men don't have to, but they, seem to, mine tends to kind of run the other way. So it's like, really? Okay,
man up, you guys. Just get on with it.
That's what I kind of make fun of him about it.
I bet that really helps as well. A shaming just before You know, I'm feeling embarrassed. So why don't you just shame me publicly? That's really going to help me get over this. Thanks.
He would be pissed if you heard this conversation, but he
I bet
never
he would.
listens, so he won't know.
Well, this might be the one day he tunes in, only to think I'm never going to tune in.
Please.
The irony of the umbrella town is it is flooded at the moment, so we're sorry to hear that. And they give the umbrellas away at the end of summer. Okay, so by Randy, he likes a bargain and a freebie.
Agada.
Right.
Oh.
Growing up with a mother and sister, I got used to running to the store for feminine hygiene products. There you go. Oh, here's James again. Here's James getting stuff for his mum and sister again. Good lad. As usual, didn't expect to be talking about any of this this morning. And I was hoping, well, not hoping in a way, because it's quite grim. But you saw that scam alert I sent you, Heather. I think we should share that with people, because it's a bit of a shock.
Yes, we should.
Okay.
No, we should, because a lot of people fall prey, especially as you get older. And you know, every time I go see my dad, and you know, in the assisted living down the street, it's like, somebody broke into my phone. It's a scam. You know, it's like that whole thing. So people can relate.
I tend not to report these sorts of things or go on about them too much, because you could be doing it every day and it's quite depressing to see how people treat each other. But this one that came to me via WhatsApp typically as well, and it could have been a scam in its own right, and it still might be. But I thought it might be worth sharing, because it applies to people obviously who are new in the country in a particular way, and it's a particularly difficult one. And it is this that I posted up on the Portugal Club. And as I say here, I'm not much into scaremongering and spamming others with scam alerts. And that's not to say they do not occur, or that people are prey to scurrilous behavior everywhere, including Portugal. I share this one, however, in good faith, because of the potentially huge challenges it might pose for foreigners and those new to the country. And when you're new to the country, you're eager to comply with officialdom, which is what this is about. So thank you to the chap who sent it to me. And this is it verbatim. Just got this info about a new scam, translated from Portuguese. For your information, please be aware that there is a group of people who go from door to door pretending to be employees of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. That's just terrifying straight away, isn't it? If someone knocks on your door and says that. They have ministry documents and letterheads and claim that they need to check that everyone has a valid ID for the next census. And then they steal, in inverted commas. They're everywhere and they look elegant. Sometimes someone will come up to your house and say they want to take your photo, fingerprint. According to one scam, they have a laptop, a biometric device, and a list of all the names. They show you the list and ask for all this information. Please be aware that there is no initiative on the part of the government of this kind. Please understand that all of this is false. Don't give them any information. Everyone must be alert and vigilant. Send it to all the groups in your community. Please inform your family and friends. Attention, in capital letters there. So you think that's one is worthy of sharing, isn't it? And if anyone does knock on your door saying they're from IMA or whatever, what would you do in that situation?
So, well, it is, because actually I just had a client literally like 2 days ago or a day ago text me and ask me, is it okay to share this information? Because one of our visa clients was asking about, you know, because a lot of times the NIF is like a scary thing to share for people, because they kind of relate it to like a social security number in the US, which you don't share. And, you know, our IBAN number, people are afraid to share that, where I will share my IBAN number with anybody who's going to send me money. So
yes, there we go. Put it on the screen now.
Exactly. So I think, you know, I think it's important to know that, you know, your fiscal number, your NIF, your tax ID, all the same thing is 1,000,000% shareable, and you'll be asked for it like every day of your life in Portugal. And as well as certain things, but this is not okay to share. Do not share your biometrics, meaning your fingerprint, your picture, your passport, etc. Now, the exception to that is CTT, which is like the post office. If they have a package or something for you, I have had to show my ID before, like when my residency card came, I had to show my passport. So that can happen. But you get to know who your CTT people are, and, you know, recognize them as well.
Yeah. And they've got something for you, which would be unusual in a scam artist, wouldn't it? I want to give you this, but you've got to give me your biometric. Unless, of course, it was just an empty package. But
I was going to say,
that's great advice. Yeah, that's good advice. But you will see somebody to prove that they're the CTT. they will be on a moped driving up the pavement.
Yeah, I was going to say that they're always on a moped, basically, right?
Yeah. And often on the pavement, at great speed, and they'll stop, and they're very cool people, in my experience. I love the guy who did this to us. Yeah. So heed Heather's words there. Very good advice on that. And yeah, just going back to the NIF and the IBAN and so on. These are kind of, they've got a one-way valve on them, haven't they? If somebody wants to give your NIF number at a supermarket, that's not the end of the world. It could be advantageous.
Well, you just, you potentially get a, I don't know, a write-off and a, I don't know, I don't even want to say that, but it doesn't hurt you if somebody uses your NIF at the grocery store or wherever. It's just your information is tied to that receipt, basically.
Yes, and I think we have to help Americans who whisper their NIF just in case anyone overhears it. It's not the same as your social security number, isn't it, or a very sensitive piece of information?
No, it's not sensitive. It's public. It's not a problem. And health number. I don't know what isn't public. I guess is a good question. More like what is?
Yes.
I don't really know because I mean you give your NIS if you have that sometimes.
Yeah.
Rarely, but it happens. I don't know. And I know. And then also the tax person she was dealing with asked her for access to her tax portal. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing that's very weird for Americans because it is sort of strange. Like, why don't they have their own access to the tax portal? Like a I don't know, what do you call it? Administrative access or whatnot, but they don't. So they're just like, what's your password to your, tax thing? And you're like, this is kind of weird.
Yes.
But it's not. That's normal as well. If they're your tax people, or bookkeeper or something doing opening activity or doing one of these things for you, that is normal. Yes.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point as well, isn't it? And you might think that Finanzas would prohibit that in a way. It goes against.
You might think.
Yeah, it goes against most of your sort of all the things we've been told to worry about. It just immediately goes against that, doesn't it? Oh, just tell me your password and I'll log in for you. You're in America. Your financial representative is in Portugal. Just send me the password and I'll log in and sort it all out for you. It's like, really?
Well, yeah. And what's weird about that is, like, think about banking here. And I guess it's EU is why, right? So we have
Oh, we've started talking about
get in your bank. You've got to get your phone. You have to have a text. You have the email. You have a card. You have a major, like it's 80 things. And you'll do it once, and then you try to transfer $50, and you got to do it again. Like it's nuts. So like you have that, which is a little nutty, if you ask me. It's way more secure than the U.S. banks. Yeah. And then on the other hand, you have like, give me your tax portal, password.
Yes. So, very interesting. Okay, and but that is what happens, and it is an interesting thing to be aware of course. And we got some new names with some somewhat controversial themes being shared with us on the screen. Who better to deal with them than Heather Binder this morning, along with me? Before we go there, the next town to Aguada is Aguada, and I don't know where the accents are on that. Okay. But that is really helpful. Indeed, no stress on the second to last. So not Agada or Agada, but Agada. I think Agada is correct. That's how I heard. Sometimes on Wikipedia, you can press a sound clip, can't you? And it has what I take to be an authentic Portuguese person absolutely announcing that. Bom dia, Portugal from Leela this morning, and we've got a God Squad tip of the day we must come back to before we finish today. But I also must go to Namen's comments here. Can I just say something? Of course you can. I'm Portuguese, and on behalf of all Portuguese people, please don't come here to do your housing ladder business schemes, please. I don't think this applies to either of us. It might be a more general comment. It might be to do with...
I don't even know what that is, so I don't know if it applies to me.
Well, it is unpacked a little bit but by the further comments, which are, it's against our cultures and values. For us, a house is a home, not a business. Now, I've got a lot of sympathy with that, and I think a lot of people feel that way. I don't think that's a uniquely Portuguese thing. And that will be, I'd love to talk to you about that, Naman. If you're up for it, the Portuguese and I are doing our show together on a Tuesday evening. And it's a great topic because there are more, this, like we say with Expat Euronews, it's not black and white. And I don't think this is black and white either, because
it's not, I mean, it's not for me, because I bought my house to be my house for my parents and my husband and me. And then within a fairly short period of time, I lost my mom, and then, my dad moved to assisted living. And so then I had this huge, 1,800 or 180, whatever square meter, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath downstairs. Yeah. So it became part of business because, then I can rent it. So it's a little bit of both, but for me, it's definitely my home first and foremost.
I don't think these are addressed. I mean, I rent a house here. I don't own a home, and so I don't think it's addressed at me. I do work with Steve White on the screen, who is about investment in property. It might be that you're referring to, but let's have a conversation about it one evening, maybe, Naman. It might work well in your country. Na goes on to say to have a housing market always inflated, because you also get higher salaries to go with it. Yeah, but we don't, and you're just driving us out of our own country. Now we have some sympathy for that.
No.
It's complicated, right?
My sympathy is a little limited. Yes, that's true. That's true everywhere. Go to Phoenix, Arizona, and tell me that's not true. Okay. Yes, right. So, and stop blaming Americans for it. Where there's like 10,000 of us here. And it's really not true, because like I bought my house, had been on the market like 2 years. Woman was crazy, Portuguese, and she made me buy like 20. Yeah, she made me buy like 20,000 euro worth of her crap furniture that I didn't even want, because I had a 40-foot shipping container stuff coming. Right. But she literally would, I'm 100% serious. She was avoiding taxes. She didn't want to pay French taxes or whatever. She'd moved to France with her husband. And, so I end up with like 20,000 euro worth of this stuff that I'm literally giving away the moment I closed on my house, because we had construction to do. And it wasn't our style at all either. And so anyways, it was crazy. But the reality is, people are greedy, and that is why housing has gone up. And stop blaming realtors or estate agents, which I have been one for 30 years in Arizona, or 25 or something like that. And but when I would take a listing and it was overpriced, I 1,000,000% told my clients, this is overpriced. This is what it's worth. This is what it's worth. But at the same time, I had a client do that once and make me price it quite a bit higher than I wanted to, and we sold it for more. Yeah, because the market and people will pay what they'll pay, and it is what it is. So
it is the world we live in, isn't it? A bit like oil. 70 years of progressive oil price for a footprint in Western society. Oil makes everything vital, says US or us this morning. And that comment isn't addressed directly at us, because I was going to say to you, Heather, I bet your house was sold to you by a fat cat American who inflated all the prices. No. A lot of people benefiting from these high prices are Portuguese people, of course, aren't they? No worries. It was not personally addressed to you. It's just a general. And fair enough. Thank you for making the point, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about that. And I think, to be fair to Steve, he would love to work with young Portuguese people, to have them have their own homes, which is possible with the new tax break that for under 35s that he also talks about. He wants to work with local authorities. He wants to work with local people. He wants to help people who've got houses with roofs falling in to renovate and get a cash flow from them. And these presumably are Portuguese people. And, so it is. We understand. And I do really love this sentiment. For us, a house is a home, not a business. But it's not a home if it's dilapidated with the roof falling in, among many thousands of other houses which aren't homes that could be homes for people. So I think Steve is doing some great work on that. And I did take your point as well. There are some ruthless, profiteering so-and-sos around, as there always are in human endeavors.
It's a hot button to blame, Americans or Brits or whatever to me for, something that statistically doesn't make sense. Certainly, it's not that there's been zero impact. I'm not saying that, but the numbers just don't play out to be that big of an impact, especially when, like my house literally sat here empty for like a couple of years and I'm in the country. 20 minutes from the ocean, which is apparently the other end of the world for most people. And, it just doesn't play out. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I
Thank you,
think there's
thank you for your
situations.
response. Yeah, thanks for your response on that, Heather. And yeah, the point of family disputes over homes as well. That's a thing, isn't it? And
Yeah,
it
it's a huge
has
thing.
an upside and a downside, I think. But it's what I really find fascinating. Portugal's a country in which this how a film opens sometimes. I think Russell Crowe was in a movie of this kind. He gets an email from a relative or the lawyer of a relative who's passed away, who leaves him a house in Tuscany or Provence or something. And like British people, and I suspect American people, dream of such things happening, not the death of their relatives, but what happens afterwards, which is, oh, you've been gifted a lovely little cottage that you could do. I was like, yes, finally I'm on the property ladder. And I think it's the opposite in Portugal, isn't it? It's like, oh God, I've opened an email, I've been left another flipping house.
People don't, the thought is not very sophisticated on that, but but it's good because doing visas, people have to have property, or they have to have a lease and all those things in the process of the visa. And so if you get inherited a house in Portugal, which I have had a client actually get left a house by her father in Portugal, and they're about to move here and move into it. So it does happen. Yeah. And that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. The owner of our home agreed to a sale price that over a weekend went up 10K. Oh, he was Belgian. Watch out for those Belgians, honestly.
That's a common thing. Not necessarily Belgium for sure, but you have an agreement and all of a sudden they want another 50 grand, or like I've seen it more than once. That's actually quite, I've heard about that a lot. So get those contracts locked in.
Get those contracts locked in, and shout out to my Belgian friends who I met at the Storytellers yesterday. Great to hang out with you. Germans and Belgians mainly, it seemed yesterday. And there's such a good sense of humor, I think, amongst the Brits, Belgians and Germans. We laughed a lot until our stomachs hurt yesterday. Regarding scams, Heather, you can check the websites of main police forces in Portugal, the PJ, the PSP and the GNR. They have warnings about some. Thanks for that, Antonio. Thank you for looking over us and helping us. Really appreciate that. Yes. And wife's deceased Ganda's property, 25 years. Oh, that's a family situation then. So that was Byrandi's, Mrs. Byrandi, who was part of a consortium of relatives who inherited a property 25 years ago. And it's still not, granddad's that was, and not a Ganda's. So that's the sort of thing that can happen. 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, China, India, Russia virtually had no cars. Western society, main consumers, Arab oil magnates, I think, wanted a footprint in Western society. Western governments obliged. A bit of socio-economic, political, geopolitical business in the chat as well this morning. Thank you, US.
Don't take my car. That's what I say.
Don't take my car.
Don't take my car. Okay,
let's finish with the God Squad tip of the day. This is Coach Turner, fresh from a comedy night last night, which wasn't very funny, but it sounded a bit. God Squad tip of the day: as the weather turns less clement. Isn't that a beautiful turn of phrase there, Heather? Less clement. Getting outside for exercise becomes more challenging. So what types of activity can we do inside to maintain our fitness levels? He's going to make us do work inside, Heather. Of course, all the strength exercises can be carried out indoors. But what about endurance training? For me, I'm beginning to enjoy the rowing machine. I thought the ceramic phallus handles were coming back into the conversation.
So did I. That's where I went. That's what I was thinking.
For me.
Wishful thinking or something. I don't know. Yeah.
For me, I'm beginning to enjoy the rowing machine. I said, oops, upside your head, which I tried to use to 10, 15 minutes every day. Get on the dance floor and do the rowing dance. It works the whole body. And I've noticed a difference after a couple of weeks. Spinning on a static bike can also be good aerobic training, although it's leg-based, obviously. But these both need equipment. How about walking up and down the stairs a few times, or marching on the spot, lifting your knees up to hip height? Yes, put some music on. Both will help your fitness, but maybe best of all would turn the music up and dance like a whirling dervish. Yeah, that is a good idea, isn't it? Fantastic. And yes, to have people upstairs, or no, people downstairs saying, can you keep the noise down up there for... Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Heather. I think a couple of images to share with you. There, of course, is your meetup. That is which Tuesday? Oh, we've already had that
third Tuesday in the month from 6 to 8. And if people follow us on bootsonthegroundpt.com on Facebook, or reach out to me through our website or something like that, I can add you if you're local. I have a WhatsApp group where we post things, and I always post that in it. And that's kind of nice. And yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, people can just reach out to chat with me if they have questions, or we offer a free chat to discuss all the fun visa stuff and all of that.
Go. And you can see from the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, to get in touch with Portugal about, get in touch with Heather about those things to do with Portugal, moving to Portugal. bootsonthegroundpt.com is the website for that. And sorry, a couple of stragglers here. I don't know what this is, but we'll look into it tomorrow. What do you think is happening there, Heather?
It looks like what's supposed to be a raft gone bathtub. Gone.
Yes, multitasking possibly. So
confused.
You could go sailing
and
have a little bit of a hot tub experience.
Okay. ADA, I just think of American Disabilities Act. I don't know what that is in reference to
I've
here.
got a feeling it's not connected with that on this occasion. It was the Regatta
the estate agent in me.
It's a thing. We'll show more of these tomorrow. These are people who sail baths in the water.
See, I was right. It's a sailing thing. Okay.
Well done. This was too late for me. Well, I saw it too late. I'm sure a coach sent it in earlier, but Colin would have been drooling over this motor here. That's his brother's car. That's his brother's car that was spotted by the coach at a race meetup in the UK. And finally, then, one event for the weekend that Bairandi thought Colin might like. The second edition, Heather, of the Marquês de Marialva rally in Cantanhede after the huge success of the first edition. So that will be the 9th to the 10th of November. So that to come. Who knows? We might even cover that.
Is that like an Indy 500 or something?
I guess it is. Because I can only guess, because I don't really know what the Indy 500 is, nor do I know.
Boring. It's a bunch of
boring.
Yeah, it's a bunch of race cars going in circles, unless you drink beer.
Yes.
Smoke, eat hot dogs. I don't know. I went once.
Hot dogs.
I used to live in Indianapolis, and I went once, and I was like in 6th grade, and I was like, wow, this is super boring.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Have a great day, everyone says, Pete. Have a great day. Everyone says, Karen and Mike in Chicago this morning. Fantastic. And this final thought here, a final geopolitical thought from US who joined us this morning, or us. Governments created the perfect equation formula for maximum inflation profits for their dynasties for the hard times just ahead. Well, that's a cheerful note, isn't it, to leave on today? Happy times. Heather, have a great day. Ciao, ciao. Take care. And bye for now.
That's a good one.
You know what? Instead of the applause, I press this. Applause and a taxi for Heather Binder. Ida Binder. Ciao.
Binder.
Kill you. Bye.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.